welcome to the Dream is in Your Hands Educational Youth Conference, dropping jewels on the next generation. I just want to welcome you. My name is Kesley Saul, also known as Kes. And today on the sports panel, I will be speaking to Ednisha Curry from Los Angeles, also known as Coach Eddie. I will be speaking to Kayla Alexander from Canada, Imani McGee Stafford from Inglewood, California, Alana Taub from Los Angeles, and Renee Washington from New Jersey. By your actions. So Alana is creative, she's passionate, and has the ability to just simply get stuff done. That is in her nature, that's in her personality. And she also worked as a senior manager in athletes communications for Red Bull and the founder of GoTree PR. Renee knows how to keep the fans engaged and entertained. She is the sports reporter for Fox Sports, ESPN, NCAA Washington Wizards, and Mystics. And she also hosted Fox Sports Radio and Philadelphia Union Game Day. And Coach Eddie, as you guys also know, has been leading her team to success. She's worked with the WNBA's Los Angeles Sparks and Phoenix Mercury, and served as technology instructor for the NBA's assistant coaches program. And she's currently the coach for the University of Maine men's and women basketball and San Antonio Spurs. Kayla leads by example on and off the court, and she is a professional basketball player in the WNBA and has playing experience in Russia, France, South Korea, Australia, Poland, and Belgium. And she was also inducted into the Milton Walk of Fame in 2019 and is the author of the book, The Magic of Basketball and Women for the Win. And Imani also leads her team and leads her foundation. Imani was the first basketball player, men or women's, to garner over 1,000 points, 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 200 blocks for University of Texas at Austin. And she is the founder of Hoops and Hopes Foundation. Welcome, ladies, to the conference. It's so good to have you guys here with me.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate
oh man, it's such an honor. I feel whew, this is a lot of compliments here. This is amazing. So right before we get into this, how is everyone doing? How's everyone doing?
Good. Can't complain.
Can't complain.
Okay. Good. In a home.
Yeah. All right. So since everyone has a background in sports, so I'll just lay out the question, and you guys, anyone can just chime in as you please. So what makes a great team player? You know what? Let's start with Coach Eddie, since she's the coach. She's the coach. Coach Ed, what makes a great team player?
You know what? It's all about understanding your role, and realizing at the end, if we all win, that's when you're going to get your accolades. You know, I can't preach that enough to, our players here that kind of get caught up in, individual accolades. Sometimes, you're going to have to sacrifice. And once we start winning, then everyone starts winning. So for me, it's, buying into winning is what makes you a great teammate.
Oh, Alana?
Yeah, I'm not an athlete. I come from the business side, but for me, it's just sometimes just like helping people to help people, not always wondering like, what am I exactly going to get out of this? But like things always usually come back around to you if you're helpful. And so like, you might do a favor for someone and it might not come back to you in any way, or it might take 2 years. But if you're just that kind of person that gives to people, helps, makes connections, answers the email, even if you're busy, like it usually works out well for you. So just to be giving with your time as much as you can.
Okay. Miss Kayla, since you have been leading by example on and off the court, what makes you great? What makes a great team player?
I love what Coach Eddie said. I think it's about knowing your role and also making sure that whatever role or position that you're in, you do it well, and to the best of your ability for the greater good. So whatever that overall goal is for your group or your team, whatever the case may be, as long as you're giving your 100% for the goal of the whole group, I think that plays a role in being a great team player.
Okay. Renee, I know that you have, hosted, a lot of events for Fox and stuff like that. So when you're watching the game, also as a fan, what do you think makes it a great team player?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing is I started out as an athlete first. I mean, I played at a high level. I coached at a high level. That's where my sports background comes in. So I always tell people, whether you're an athlete or just a part of a team, it's all the same concept of being like team first, as everybody's been saying, but also finding ways to make an impact within your role. You know, don't just be someone that comes in and does the bare minimum and just goes along. You have to find ways to make an impact, whether that's being a leader, being outgoing, being someone that's going to help challenge those around you. In some way, we all can, within our role, make the team as a whole better. So being at your best is also part of being at the best for the greater good of the team. So it's finding ways to lead each other, to push each other, encourage each other, and then always be evolving as a group so that you can always be getting better as a group, whether that's as an athlete, again, or specifically in like the workplace. We can always be getting better individually and as a group, collectively.
Right. Last but not least, Miss Imani, since you have, 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 200 blocks. So what makes it a great team player?
Honestly, they covered everything. But I think going back to what Coach Curry said, knowing your role, I think especially with the time of social media, like I wish I came up with the age these kids coming up. I had one highlight tape coming up and it wasn't even all me. Like it was clips of me.
Right.
And it glorifies like the 30 and the 40 point scores. But as you get higher in your career, like you're not always gonna be able to do it all, right? Like I did it all for my team in college. And as I got to the pros, like my first year in the pros, like literally my role was to come in and make the other post player tired. My coach literally was just run. She was like, just run, make them tired, get some rebounds, come sit right back down. And understanding like that your role, how big, how small, is still relevant to the greater ecosystem of the team. And it sounds very easy and very laissez-faire speaking about it now, but it's hard to be a great team player, especially when your own personal goals aren't being met, right? It's not easy to always put the team first and sit in that seat and say like, man, I know that I'm not gonna play. I know, like, I remember being on a team and I knew I was gonna play 10 minutes max. Didn't matter how great I practiced, didn't matter how hard, that was my role. So being comfortable enough to say, this is my role, but when I come in, I'm gonna make sure I'm giving my all. When I'm in practice, I'm gonna make sure I'm pushing the starters. And having that mindset is not easy, but understanding if the greater goal is us to win, then I have to kind of sacrifice some of my own personal goals sometimes, and being comfortable and confident in that.
Right. And that also leads to my next question about practice. Everyone watched the whole interview with Iverson about practice, talking about practice, like what's practice, right? But I believe practice, what you do in practice is what you'll do in the game. I know that people always say, well, it's just practice and then I'll be on in the game. But if you're not doing it now, you won't do it then too. So why is setting an example in practice so important?
Man, so first of all, everybody talks about the Iverson quote. Context for the Iverson quote. He had missed practice because one of his closest friends died.
Right.
So in the context, he wasn't saying practice is important. He was just saying.
Just for clarity, right?
Yes, because everybody.
I want to set it up so you could get what I mean. But yes.
No, I completely understand what you're saying. But for the young kids, right. Everybody calls that quote as if he's saying that practice doesn't matter. No, he was saying like, I just lost a family friend. Practice is not important to me right now in context of losing someone, right? But one of the things I figured out fairly late was that practice is important, right? Like you can't turn it on. The higher you get in your career, you won't be able to turn it on if you're not practicing with that same intensity. And then like, that's where you try, that's where you get better. And also just everybody kind of says like, oh, I'm a game time player. You ain't gonna get that chance to be a game time player if I haven't seen it in practice. Hello. And that's like the most realest thing I've ever heard. Going into from high school to college was the biggest transition of understanding that if I don't do it in practice and my coach doesn't see it, I'm not gonna get a chance to do it in the game. So practice there's no way to put a quantity of how important it is to do what you need to do in practice. And that's not just in sports, that's in speaking, right? And even being comfortable in this arena, I have to be able to speak in front of somebody. I have to practice these things. I have to be aware of what I want to say. And so practice is necessary in whatever you're doing. Right.
I strongly believe that. I don't know about you, Coach Ed, but I've seen Last Chance U, and just to see how the coach was just like on him, even in practice. Like forget the game. For the game, he was just a totally different animal. But just in practice, he was just on them. Like, are you like that in practice with your players?
No, I am not that extra. First of all, you know what? Being a coach, you have to adjust to your culture. That's what was needed for his culture and to help those young men. But in my culture here at University of Maine, I don't have to do that. And, we don't even swear at our players. We don't use profanity of any type, but that's our culture. And that's something that we've established in the way we communicate. But again, going back to practice, it's about developing habits.
Right.
And that's all practice is, whether I'm coaching, I have to get reps with scouting reports. I have to get reps with public speaking, like Imani said, like everything is reps. And if you develop those habits and understand that practice is just a life skill that you need, it doesn't matter where you work or what you do, you're going to have to practice. And, going back to sports, I can remember when I didn't want to practice and there was a coach there pushing me. And now that I don't have a coach every day, I'm grateful for those reps and those endurance that those role models instilled in me, because I don't really need to be pushed for success now in life. I know what it takes, and it's reps, and that's what practice is.
Mm-hmm. Kayla, I see you there, like, you're nodding the whole time, like, yep, practice is important. It's like, so let me hear your take on it.
Real talk, I was writing notes about what I want to say, and I literally wrote down, so for me, I'm a true believer that basketball is a great teacher for life, because, or sports in general, all the lessons that you learn throughout sports, if you go through it in sports and you make it through the other side, and you learn that lesson, it'll propel you in your everyday life. And the thing I wrote down is building with sports, and why practice is so important is because it's building healthy habits. And I truly believe that you are what you repeatedly do. So if you're continuously building healthy habits in all that you do, whether it's on the court, making sure you're showing up on time, giving 110 in the sprints, something as simple as waking up every morning and spreading your bed, if you continuously do that, I truly believe that that's a reflection of who you are and your character. And like I said, it prepares you for life. So no matter what you face, like Coach said, when you don't have that person constantly in your ear motivating you, because you develop those habits, you have the tools necessary to propel you forward and do the right thing and to get everything done that you need to get done in life. So I'll always preach on the power of sports because I'm a true believer, and practice is a small example of that power within sports that you can learn and the tools that you develop for life.
Right, Alana. So I know with you, like you're not in the sports, like as far as physically playing the sports, but just being in the role that you're in. How is practice important for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I was saying. Like that, not on the court practicing, like
right.
But kind of to someone's point, like if I have a presentation, like you bet that I'm practicing before what I'm going to say, the flow of it, just so that I'm comfortable and ready. And like my favorite place to practice is the car. So if I'm driving, I probably look like a weirdo, like talking to myself, but if I have a presentation, I'm going to go through it. Like, why not use that 10 minutes to just run through what you're going to say, get comfortable. So you're not, I know sometimes public speaking can be hard for people, but if you've done it a few times, you're less nervous. It feels like I know the next sentence, I know what point I'm trying to get across. And then you look more comfortable, you do better. So if it's in school or work, like just going through those reps verbally or your hand motions, whatever, it really helps. So yeah, there's practice for everything, whether it's physical or mental, it's always good to try before you actually are on stage.
Yeah. So Renee, would you I'm sure you probably seen the players probably from practice and actually in the actual game. How do you feel practice plays a part in what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Kayla's point, something that I always learned growing up is the fact that like you need to, you're learning good life habits. So like my college coach used to tell us practice should be harder than games. You should be training at a level that's higher. So when you get into the game, you're not surprised by anything that's thrown your way. You've done this a million times. And for me, specifically in soccer, it's a different beast than basketball in that with 11 players on the field, there's no guarantee you're going to touch the ball. That's why I always say, like, find a way to make an impact. You can be on the soccer field, run up and down. You might not be involved at all. It's not like as much in like a sport like basketball where you are more directly involved. But I have seen where that, in my opinion, one of the biggest separators from one level to the next, and on the sports side, from high school to college to when I got in the pros, but even on the professional side, what separates people is having that integrity of knowing like you're going to compete, train, work, prepare at a level that's always higher than everybody else, regardless who's watching, regardless if it's a practice, a warm-up, a game, a playoff game, whatever it is. It's the same thing in life. You have to carry yourself the same way every time. So from the standpoint of players, and the reporting side, absolutely. You know, I always tell people the reps don't start when you get that big job or when you get in front of that live studio like audience or whatever it may be. It starts when you're back doing the grind of getting started in the industry. So I always have tried to carry that same skill that I learned as an athlete into my profession, because if you do watch any professionals, and for anybody that's watched the college or pro or played at that level, you know this yourself too. It is different. You know, everything is competitive. I'll never forget when I got into pro soccer and I'm like, we're competing over literally everything, like be first in everything from the warm-ups to the cool down at the end. But that's getting that internal fight that, you know what, if you want to be the best, you got to train at the best level possible all the time. So yes, players at the highest level that's the separating factor, in my opinion, between being a top talented player and someone that's just good. You know, that's the biggest difference.
Whew, there's a lot of gems right here, man. This is beautiful. So my next question, Coach, how do you relate to everyone's personality, and why is chemistry so important? And like, you know, how do you adjust that with all the, you know, players like on the team, especially moving from, you know, from playing from coaching in I think it's let me go back to my notes, in LA Sparks with the Phoenix Mercury, also in, you know, Maine right now. Like how is it important to relate to everyone's personality and make sure that the team wins and reaches at that high level?
I transitioned from coaching women's basketball to men's basketball the same way. The first thing is just to realize that people are people. That's the first thing I say. People always ask me, you know, what's the difference in coaching men's basketball? It's no different. There's going to be a grouchy player. It's going to be a lazy player. It's going to be an ambitious player. It's going to be a selfish player. It's going to be they're people. So when you go into coaching and looking at people just for people, you don't have a gender bias, which sometimes we have and we don't realize it, whether we're male or female. You are able to adapt. And I think it's not about meshing personalities together or, you know, worrying about egos or things like that. It's adapting to people and meeting people where they are. That's one thing I try to do with my players. Is it easy? No. Is it hard? It's very difficult. Yeah, I'm 42 years old and they're ranging from 18 to 22. We're on different spectrums mentally.
This is different.
That's just the reality of, so I have to take a step back sometime and meet them where they are and understand where they're coming from and kind of engulf myself in their world a little bit and then come out. And it's really the relationships and building the foundation is about, we can all have different personalities. That's what makes teams beautiful. That's called diversity.
Right.
Basketball is the best tool for that. Sports are the best tool for that. We're just naturally diverse. We have the most diverse team in all of men's basketball. It's 19 different countries on our team. Wow. Literally, it's so many cultures and social economic backgrounds and race, religion. It's all kind of stuff going on with our team. But every day we come together and we're communicating based on this one goal that we all believe in. Do we have differences? Yes, that's a part of the process. But if we understand that our communication and difference is not, and one thing that we stress, as long as it's not built in hate, it's not sexist, we can have differences. We cannot agree. That is fine. But it's, you know, building these relationships and bringing people together is about us learning how to communicate when we do have differences. That's the key to any team. And once we figure that out, it's so much fun to be around them. Like their personalities are able to really shine because they don't feel like, I think a huge mistake in teams is like, when we have this goal, we think that everyone has to be the same. We have to almost be robotic to achieve this goal. And that is when you have players that, you know, start getting depressed. They don't want to be here anymore because they can't be themselves. Our job as coaches is to meet these players where they are, enjoy the beauty that we saw when they were young, and you know, figure out how to just help each other work together. That's how I do it. I mean, everyone else is different, but I like the craziness that goes on with the different personalities on my team. It keeps my job fun.
Right.
And, you know, they're happy to be themselves, and that allows them to smile every day and makes the environment fun for me.
That's dope. That's dope. You know, it's nice hearing that from a coach's perspective. So, Ms. Kayla, how do you do it from a player's like perspective, where you having to adapt to each team, like you know the teams that you play for, and you know being a new player and having to like adapt to everyone's personality? Like, how was that?
Okay. So with my experience, I've had to come or join a bunch of different teams, whether it's playing on the same team for 4 years in college, and then when you play pro, jumping around different countries, having a variety of different teammates. And for me, the one thing that always holds true is just being myself. Like if I'm authentically myself, being who I am, I feel like that is enough. And usually people prefer authentic, people like real. And if you can just be yourself, be comfortable in your own skin and who you are, and show that to the world will usually accept you for who you are. And you can build real relationships that way. So if I were to give advice to anybody, I'd say just be yourself, be authentic, quirks and all, because we're all unique and different for a reason. God made us our unique ways with our unique personalities, sense of humor, is everything. So I wouldn't shy away from just being who you are. Also, when it comes to the coaching staff, I would say have conversations as well. Like if you're trying to figure out like what is expected of me, what role am I going to be playing? I think communication is huge. Communication puts out a lot of fires, solves a lot of problems. And I feel like when we communicate with one another, it makes things easier to progress and move forward with. So I'd say be authentic, just be yourself, be who you are, stand in your truth, and communicate. Communication solves a lot of issues.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Alana, so I know that it is in your nature to, to be yourself, number one, but also to just make sure that stuff is done. So how do you motivate yourself to move past different like frustrations when it's not your day? But I want to ask all of you guys too that same thing, because I know that as players too, when those shots aren't hitting and when the shots aren't hitting or it's just not working, like how do you move past that frustration?
Yeah, definitely have had those days and those moments. And I think one have to remember that like you've had those days in the past and you've gotten through it and it's got better. Like, as cliche as it is, like each day really is a new day. So sometimes you just gotta like go to bed, let it go. But then also, like as simple as like meditation kind of techniques, like breathe through it. Like when you're like, sometimes you just need 5 minutes to literally go sit in the corner, do a breathing exercise, just like let it go. And then sometimes you just got to go do something else, whether it's completely for yourself, like go work out and then come back to it, or just go do another task that you need to get done. Like, if task A is like not going your way, like go knock something out from task B and at least accomplish something. And yeah, you just like, everyone has good and bad days. Like you just can't like take it so personally. Like, oh my, I think there's that thought of like, I'm failing because this one thing is failing. It's like, no, it's just a thing. The next thing will come and you'll be good. And just, not to get too like wrapped up in one thing being perfect, because there's always going to be a bad day, but we've all made it through, we're all here. So you'll make it through the next bad day too.
Oh, okay, cool. Imani, what about you? Like, how do you motivate yourself through past all the frustration and all your,
I guess for me, it's a conversation of gratitude and humility. So like, for those of you who don't know, I come from a basketball family. My mother is in the Hall of Fame. She won at every level. My older brother is JaVale McGee of the Denver Nuggets. He's a 3-time NBA champion. So I got huge shoes to fill. And on exactly. And so I think for me, like moments I felt like I tried to quit probably 3-4 times in college. College was a hard time for me. But I'm born and raised in Inglewood, California. And I know a lot of people growing up that were either more talented than me, more smarter than me, but they didn't get the opportunities I got because I'm 6'7" and I play basketball. So for me, a lot of it is me carrying my city with me and carrying my family and friends with me. And so like, I just constantly have to remember what my purpose is and why I'm doing this. Even in law school is terrible. I think it's hell on earth. but I'm here. Um, and every day I'm like, bro, this is crazy. But I have to understand, like, and I hated hearing this growing up, but to whom much is given, much is required. So every day is not going to be easy. But I do understand that I'm blessed to be in this position. And so I have to carry on for the people that I know will never have these opportunities. And that's the way I think about it, because every day isn't going to be a great day. I definitely cried the other day because law school is very hard. And I just felt very overwhelmed.
You gotta share one every now and again. Yep.
You know, and it was just like, hey, this is hard, but I'm uniquely prepared for this position because God doesn't give me more than I can handle. And on top of that, I know why I'm doing this. And so I think when you have your purpose in mind, it's a lot easier to get through the hard times, because while this one moment may not be great, you understand the bigger picture and the greatness you're wishing to accomplish.
Wow. Well said. Miss Renee, I know that for you too as well. Like, I know that having to entertain the crowd and make sure that they always pumped up and stuff like that. Like, and sometimes, you know, I've been in like arenas where, or not arenas, well, places where like you're trying to get everybody motivated, but it's just what you're saying just ain't hitting. It's just ain't it. So how do you move past those things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate now that I work in an industry like you're saying, where as an in-arena host, as a host of a show, I actually prefer hosting shows when I can't see the audience, because when you're like an in-arena host or you're doing something where they're right there, you get that direct feedback of, yes, what you just said actually was great and people enjoyed it, or maybe that joke you tried was a flop.
Right.
But I think the biggest thing for me, because I have so many stories, I've gotten on live TV and like had that glitch where something's not working, especially being virtual and COVID and doing a lot of like virtual appearances. Yeah. I've had things where like my mic stops working or I can't hear the producer in my ear. You have to learn to roll with the punches. And I think, like Amani was saying, for me, it's staying grounded in my faith. Like, I really do feel as though nothing that is worth it ever comes easy. So if every day is easy and perfect, that means I'm not doing enough. That means I'm not challenging myself enough. You know, if I want to fulfill this purpose I have, goals that I have, dreams that I have, it's going to be hard. Every day is going to be different. There will be challenges. There will be some great days too. I've definitely had my fair share of tears and frustration and stuff. Times I'm ready to throw a piece of equipment at someone or just something, but it happens. So I always tell people, my thing is to move with intention. So you remember where you started, you know where you are, and you understand where you're going. And in those days that I do realize I have that hard day and it's like, oh man, here I am already. I got my top half camera self ready. And then bam, the producer tells me, we can't hear you, you're frozen. You know, that's heartbreaking. But then I also am like, you know what? I'm at least here. There was a time where I literally prayed for moments like this, where I was hoping for opportunities like this, you know, where I didn't know if I had it in me to make this step. So it always, to me, comes back to being an athlete, because that's something you definitely directly learn as a player, is when you can't score, when your touch is off, when you can't do anything right, and you are just feeling out of it. It's the same thing in the real world. You know, there's never going to be, I'll take like a week of straight, consistent, challenge-free days. That does not exist. So I always tell people, like, expect the challenges, expect the frustration. Don't compare yourself to anybody else but yourself. And then when those moments do happen, instead of me scrolling through my Instagram, well, this person's doing this and that person's doing this, and I can't even get my live stream to work for my whatever. No, I'm remembering that for me, it's about me. And I'm farther than where I was. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm walking in my purpose. So you definitely have to stay grounded and rooted and kind of block out all the noise. Meditation is great. Music, whatever it is that helps you like decompress. But at the end of the day, move with intention, through the good, the bad, and all that's in between.
I love that. Move with intention. So I wish that I could talk to you guys a whole lot more, because like this is a great conversation. Like I really love it. But I just have to end with this one question, and this question goes for everybody on the panel. So if you guys hear this quote, "The dream is in your hands," what does this mean to you? So let's start with Alana, then we're going to Coach Ed, then we're going to go with Kayla, then we're going to go with Imani, and lastly with Renee Washington.
I mean, yeah, I think for me, when I think about the athletes I work with who are like the gold medalists and the superstars, it's not an accident. They've worked the hardest. They put in the hours, all the stuff you don't see, like 4 a.m. waking up, like grinding the hardest. So like, it really is in your hands to work harder, do more, like more intention, and be the better friend and all those things. So success is almost never an accident. So it's in your hands to really grind and put yourself in the best position to win.
Amen. Coach Ed?
For me, you know what, I'll just, keep it really short. It's about owning your story and owning your journey. I mean, that's it for me. Like once I owned who I was, took control of my story and my narrative and my journey, the sky was the limit for me. I had blinders on and I knew where I wanted to go, and it didn't matter what anybody else was saying.
Okay. Ms. Kayla?
For myself, when I hear that the dream is in your hands, I think that the dream is for whoever isn't afraid. And by that, I mean the person who's not afraid to go after what they want, the person who's not afraid to ask, because it's always no unless you ask. You never know what's going to happen. The person who isn't afraid to ask for help when they need it. The person who isn't afraid to fail, because that's how you learn and keep moving forward. So when I see that, I say it's the person who's not afraid. And if you're not afraid to take chances in life, to go after what you want, make mistakes, push forward, and keep learning and growing, anything is possible. And that's usually where the magic or the dreams come true in that journey.
Sweet. Imani?
So I think for me, I'm from Inglewood, California. I've pretty much done everything you could have done outside of being arrested. I was
Make that clear. You know what I'm saying? But
I'm not supposed to be here
come back, but it's okay. It's okay.
I'm saying, so people that know me from being a child are always just like, how did this happen? Because I was not supposed to be this person. I was definitely the kid that was in trouble, that got kicked out of high school. I was all of those things.
You out.
So for me, I always say, understand that what people give you is not yours. You take what you want. I'm a Black woman and I grew up in an abusive household. There's no reason I should be here outside of the fact that I work my butt off and God has put me in positions to succeed. So I always say, understand who you are and understand what your purpose is. And like Renee was saying, move with intention, move with purpose. And if you're doing something passionately and you're putting in the work to honor that, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, aligns itself for you. So yeah, always don't buy into what people tell you or who you should be or what you're capable of, because that is always in your hands.
Hi, Renee.
I'm a serious dreamer. So I feel like I always am telling people advice on this. If your dream does not scare you, you're not dreaming big enough. But you also have to understand that you have to make it happen. Like, again, as a Black woman, nothing was ever given to me. Everything from birth to today, nothing was ever given to me. I had to go fight for it, grind for it. So you have to be willing to be versatile, to outwork everybody around you, to be 10 times better. Like my parents used to tell me growing up, be 10 times better than everybody beside you. Never settling to just do the bare minimum, like I said earlier. But again, understanding what comes with that. So I always tell people, don't compare yourself. Don't be focused on what everybody else is doing. Run your own race. Because it's your journey, it's your path. There's no timeline. You can't expect, by this year and this age, I'm gonna be doing this and that. No, that's when you lose sight of what's most important, which is you and your journey. So dream as big as you possibly can. And like you guys are all saying, don't hold yourself to just being one thing. Be all that you wanna be. And then when it does get hard, understand that comes with it and means you're getting closer, if anything. But you have to be willing to take it. It's not going to be handed over to you. Nothing in my life anyways has been given to me on a silver platter. I've had to work for everything. And if you want to be successful, you will too.
Queens, you guys have blessed the airways with all the gems that you guys have given us. I am appreciative. I'm actually about to replay this whole thing and take all the gems that you guys have dropped for the students, because I'm still a student to the game myself. So I'm gonna constantly be soaking up all this stuff, write this down, also pass it over to my son. Like, watch this. Coach Eddie said, Kayla said, Imani said, Renee said, Ayana said, right? Let's bring it home. But that's good. Thank you guys so much. Just really quick, right before we go, I would like to let you guys just share your handle where everybody can find you guys at, because I'm sure we have some students that would want to reach out to you guys and ask you guys some more intimate questions. And so you guys can just share your handle. So let's start with Renee, Imani, Kayla, Coach Ed, and Alana.
Yeah, so I'm Renee P. Washington on everything. So it's Renee P. Wash on Twitter, Renee P. Washington on Instagram. I'm kind of on Clubhouse, Facebook, whatever. My website is reneepewachian.com, and I am always receptive to helping give back and answer questions. So you can definitely always reach out to me through social media. That's the best way to get in touch.
Yeah, I would definitely be reaching out for that.
So it is Imani. Not my turn.
It's a turn.
Okay. I heard feedback and I was like, oh.
No, it's all you. It's all you. It's
Okay.
all you.
Imani Trishawn, IMANITRASHAWN. Imani Trishawn on Instagram. Imani Trishawn _ on Twitter, and DM me. I'll get back to you. It might take a while, but I promise I'll get to it.
Go school. Go school. I get it.
You know, so hit me up. I got you.
Nice, smooth. Miss Kayla.
I am KJALEXAN40. So KJAlexan40 on Twitter, Instagram, and I think Facebook. So pretty straightforward.
Sweet. Coach Ed.
I am Coach Ednisha Curry at on Instagram, and then Ednisha Curry on Twitter.
Sweet. Alana.
Cool. So I am Alana, and it's ILANA Red at on Instagram and Twitter. So Alana Red, like the hair. Hit me up. DMs are the best way to go. And yeah, always happy to help if someone needs advice.
Sweet.